Hello everybody and welcome to Assassin's Pride episode Trey. Anime review. Trey is like 3 in like Spanish or something. I don't know. I don't know foreign languages. But yeah, this episode was kind of weird. I liked parts of this episode, but there were other parts of the episode where I was like, did they upload the wrong episode? Because there were parts where I was like, it feels like we should have had more than what we've had, if that makes sense. It feels like, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they probably skipped some things from the source. I'm too lazy to look, and by that I mean, if people know, they can tell me in the comments. It's a way to promote viewer chatting. I don't know. But yeah, I did like parts of it, but then there were other parts where I was just like, yeah, come on, you're a bit like that. But I'm still enjoying it, and I guess that's the most important thing. We'll get to those parts when we get to them, as we typically do in this review format. I'm doing accents and offending everyone this week. I do apologise, but I mean no ill will and all that other good stuff. Anyway, let's crack on with the episode and see what went down this week in the Pride of the Assassin. That would have been a way cooler name. They should have done that. Anyway, let's get on with this. So, in my opinion, the opening parts sections were a little bit There's some interesting stuff a bit later on, but for the very first part, basically Melida's got a dress because there's a festival upcoming, and I was like, okay. We learn a bit more about Kufa. He's from the Outer Land and that, whatever that means. She's got the dress. She asked him to dance at the campfire, and I was like, okay. Is that... Also, this isn't like a pervy question, but why does everyone have like small boobs? Because I'm just waiting for the token, you know, animes, like here's the character with massive boobies. And it's just like, you know, it's not, I don't care. Like, let's just get that out of the way. I don't care. But like, it seems very weird. Is this aimed at the lolicon people? What even is a lolicon? I know what a lolicon is. Anyway, he says no, he's busy on that day, so he can't dance with her. But on the final day, hey, I'll do it. And I was like, okay. So that's what they're going to do then. He's just going to come in at the end, they're going to do a dance. Fandari. But then I skipped over this bit very quickly because I didn't find it that interesting. Next part with Ellie, or Elise, or they call her Ellie, so I'll call her Ellie too. That was more interesting. Is it Elise or is it something else? They call her Ellie, so I'm going to stick with that. So her mum is like a dick, apparently, who is like a controlling, tippity-top noble and all that. So turns out Ellie didn't crush Melida in the tournament, that we didn't get to see. You know, that would have been a nice round to watch. I know we saw her kick ass, but was that meant to be against Melida? Because it sort of just cut away last week. We didn't get to see the full-on not decimation, but you know what I'm saying? We didn't see the proper fight. Would have been nice if we seen that. Her mum didn't like the dress that the school sent her, because the dress that Melida was carrying, all the students got one of the same design for the festival thing. So her mum didn't like it, so she doesn't get to wear it. And I was like, okay, that could be quite interesting. And in a way, it kind of was when we get a bit later on. So she goes to the festival and she's the only one wearing something different, and obviously that causes people to be like, you know, snob, everyone else is wearing this and you gotta be different. But on the inside she's like, I want it to be just the same as all of you guys, but I can't because my mum's a dick. And then she runs off sad and crying. So yeah, I actually do like that point of view where she's misunderstood and she's being picked on by some bratty kids now. School sucked, man. Every time I watch anime I'm just like, school sucked. It just comes back to me. But yeah, she runs away. She wants to be like them, obviously, but her mum is bad, like I just said. Melida follows her and is comforting her or whatever. And then they get confronted by the bandage guy and kidnapped. Before we move on, Melida and the other one, Ellie, did they ever proper make up? Because last I remember, they were having a bit of a scrap. But not a full-on scrap, just a little bit of a scrap. And now they're like close as bread. That's not a saying, but you know what I'm saying? So did they... It felt really weird. Like I said, it felt like there's been a big old skip in between last week and this week. And maybe there was a bit of a time skip, but it feels like we've missed something important. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm a bit overcomplicating it. But that's just what I think. It does feel a bit... So it felt off. That's one way to put it. Let's put it that way. It felt off. Melida wakes up in the care, I guess, of the bandage guy, and he sealed her mana by putting a bandage on her, so good job. He's a half lycanthrope, which if you remember, they're the monster things. He's controlling some more monster things, tells her about his group and everything. At this point I was like, why are you telling her everything? You're telling your evil group name, or evil, I don't remember if they're actually evil. But like, yeah, why would you tell her things? Basically he says, we're gonna do some science or some magic or whatever, and we're gonna take Ellie's ability and give it to you so you can be a paladin too. Ellie is terrified of the Lycanthropes, and we have a little flashback, she's terrified of a picture of them. Obviously there's something else there, and I hope we get more on that, because that's like a backstory thing that will be quite interesting, hopefully. So hopefully they explore that in more detail, because, like I said, this show, I think I like it. I definitely like parts of it, but there are parts that I'm just like not too fond of. Anyway, she knocks a T-Rex over, a skeleton or what. They're in a museum, I didn't mention that. Random T-Rex over to escape. Then they were going to use they used the dress to make a torch to fight the bad things. Melida is like competent now, and now Ellie is the one that's cowering in fear and all that. I do kind of like they flipped. That's pretty good. They reach the exit after fighting the things, where the bandage guy is waiting. I don't think we ever get his name, so he will be referred to as Bandage Guy for the duration of this episode at least. He's way stronger than them, and then he's like chatting balls, and then they both glare at him at the same time, and I'm like, oh, they got some. And then he like backs off, he gets spooked by it, so I'm like, is there something there? I think Kufa explains it a bit later on, as to why he backed off, but at that point I was like, maybe they get more powerful in like a magnet, right? There's not like a magnet. Oh, you get more powerful in proximity is what I'm trying to say, but I don't think that is what it is at all. And then he tries to kill them. They get saved by the instructor duo, which are Kufa and the other one, Rosetta Stone. That's the one. Rosetta something. The red-haired one. They come and save the day, and boy, they do a good job. One thing I actually do like about this show quite a bit is the fight scenes. There is actually something to them. You know, they're not like super amazing impressive, but they're like a step above basic. They're like, there's actually like, in this one in particular, they use like, he like kicks her off his feet. They tag team basically. They team up. I do sort of like the way the fights are done in this show. That I think is a positive. I thought, yeah, I liked especially this part. Although later on there's a fight. Well, we'll get to it in a bit, but I didn't like that one as much as this little brief bit here, because I liked them teaming up and doing all that good stuff. Kufa chases the bandage guy by himself, finds out the Lord guy's behind it, the same Lord guy who hired him, I assume, but then he didn't kill, obviously. The bandage guy injects a blob, which turns into a dragon-type Lycanthrope, I assume. It's sort of like a dragon, so I call it a dragon. Then there's a brief fight. The first bit of the fight was fine when Kufa's like fighting mostly the bandage guy, but then the dragon gets him, you know, from behind. That part was alright. But then he gets his mana cut off by some bandages, and he loses an arm. And at this point I was like, oh no, it's happening again. I got Ari Ferretta flashbacks, and I was like, no. And it's not that bad, it's fine. Although, I guess you could sort of put them together. That is pretty weird. Then he gets eaten, or it looks like he gets eaten, but he doesn't actually. And then he kills it by making it explode and gets a whitehead form. Stay with me. Turns out he's a vampire. He also reattaches his arm. He's a vampire, which who could have known? His name is Vampire. Like, I thought his name was too on the nose for him to actually be a vampire. But no, it turns out he is a vampire. Like, I thought that was far too obvious, but apparently not. So he's also half human and half Lycanthrope. Is Lycanthrope and a vampire, were they the same or are they different things? I don't know. He says he's half human. Anyway. And then she apparently displayed paladin power, Melida, so I'm assuming when they were glaring and it focused on their eyes, that's what caused them to be spooked, because she had the same power, which proved that she is a proper house noble person. This has been going on a while, I know, but I'm trying to work it through myself as I explain it. So that's good. And he tells his employer in his white-haired badass form, go tell him, he says like, is it worth your life or something? Does it affect you whether she lives or dies? Something like that is what he says. I can't remember, I haven't written down the exact quote. And then he leaves. Then we briefly get a guy talking to a hooded figure who can't speak, and she like makes words appear in the air out of fire, and that's how she speaks. So I don't know who that's about, but we learn a bit more. Early prediction: if it's a character we know, it might be Rosetta. I don't think it is. Like that's not my prediction because I think it's the new character we haven't met yet. But if it's one we know, it's her. But yeah, and then I guess she's going to go after them as well. And then at the end, Kufra and Melida do a dance, and she basically confesses to him. And he, I guess, honestly, this time I'm going to say he pretends not to notice. I know anime characters in general are like ridiculously dense, but this time he kind of deflects it because I assume he's quite a bit older than her. Not super. He's not like 47, but he's not like, was she 14? He's not 14 like she is. So he deflected it. Deflection, as they say. It went like pshong, and it went over there. I have no idea what I'm talking about. That was the end of the episode. As I said, not too much of a fan of the romance bit between the two of them, especially because Kufra just doesn't seem to care, which I guess it's one-sided, so I guess that's actually all right. But I'm worrying. I want them to do more with Ellie. Like, I feel like she had interesting stuff introduced this episode, but then they sort of abandoned it halfway so Kufra could go and get white hair and turn into an edgy boy, because white hair means edgy. That's a thing. That's a literally, like, look at all the anime characters that have white hair and you'll be like, edgy? You're edgy. It's actually a pretty good thing. But anyway, like I said, I did enjoy the episode. It did feel like we skipped a bit, but it was still enjoyable. And I'm nervous. I think this week made me more nervous than the previous 2 weeks. Because I am enjoying it, and I am a pretty positive person, so I'll probably enjoy it at least a little bit, no matter what. But I'm getting the feeling it's not as good as it could be. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about all that and all the other good stuff. Make sure you comment and like and the subscribe for more reviews, and also I like seeing what people say. What else do I normally say at these end bits? I'll see you next week for another episode of this thing, Assassin's Pride that is, and bye guys.